A dangerous weather pattern has become established across the United States, bringing a multifaceted hazardous weather threat. We're talking a large storm with severe weather, including tornadoes, very high winds, and hail the size of baseballs or greater. Record-breaking heat for days on end is also coming. We're going to look at just who's going to see that. And yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you like snow, we've got to talk winter weather. At the end of June, we're looking at heavy snowfall, winter weather conditions in some parts of the country. We're going to look at the long range as well as the sun because we've got a couple of things to talk about there. This is Cold Rain's Weather World. We've got all the weather, and we're going to get started right now. It is a tropical feel across much of the United States, folks. One of the most tropical places in the world right now. We're going to take a look at that too, but we're going to start with the severe weather threat that's out there for today, and that threat exists in the form of a level 2 risk right now. We may see some of this upgraded later on today, but right now level 2 risk from the northern plains, the panhandle of Texas, also southern New York, northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey for potential wind and hail later today. Slight risk around that, slight risk around, or a marginal risk around that, rather, marginal risk around the plains too. But we're looking at Duluth, up here, Grand Forks, Bismarck, Fargo, Aberdeen, Pierre, down into central Nebraska, over in toward Garden City, and just west of Amarillo today, in the main area of focus here, with a tornado threat centered primarily up here over northern Michigan today as a low pressure brings some spin in the atmosphere. Wind is going to be a threat too. If any of these storms can organize into clusters or line segments, we could see some organization around wind and bring destructive winds to northern Minnesota. Hail is a big threat. Steep mid-level lapse rates, they're intense cooling with temperature with height, could bring a large hail the size of baseballs again to north and northwestern Minnesota, we'll call it. So what's driving this? That's always the question that we ask, and most of the time we usually have a pretty good answer. And today we've got very, very high instability. When you start to see these purples and whites and blacks, that's really intense instability, and you see that as we go through the afternoon and evening hours today. Plenty of instability up here across Minnesota, back down into the plains, and then another axis across the northeast where we're going to see thunderstorms. Already seeing thunderstorms in some of these spots, and that will continue through the afternoon and finally wane a little bit as we get into the evening. Nocturnal cooling takes over, and some of these thunderstorms that you see kind of eat up some of that fuel. But here we go this afternoon. We're already seeing thunderstorms develop across South Dakota. So we get on into the afternoon and late evening hours. This is right before, say, 7 o'clock local time. Seeing supercells break out here. Any of those will have the potential to produce tornadoes. So I'm expecting at least a few reports of tornadoes up and down the line that we showed you before, but primarily up here potentially in Minnesota. Later on in the evening hours, we have the potential for those to organize into clusters and line segments. A little low-level jet, a little low pressure working in from Wyoming, moving up in toward this area is going to bring an extra spin, and so we'll see some shear aloft to help organize these thunderstorms. You'll see thunderstorms fire back along that cold front back into the panhandle of Texas. Not everybody's going to see weather along that cold front because, you know, there's just sometimes conditions are favorable for a lot of lift, and sometimes not so much. So today we're not looking at a widespread severe weather outbreak, but we do have lots of instability and a boundary to help focus energy, and we're going to see that certainly play out as we go through the course of the day. Up here in the northeast, we've already got some thunderstorms ongoing. As we look through later this afternoon, we'll see those thunderstorms continue. I've looked at most of the models, and most of the models kind of show most of the thunderstorm activity over here in maybe near the Buffalo area and down here into northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm not seeing a lot making it into New Jersey, but don't let your guard down. Just because the model doesn't show it doesn't mean that we don't have the potential for it. So anyway, keep your eyes to the sky in southern New York, northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey. These are the areas that we're going to, really focus on. Boundaries are going to come out of these thunderstorms, and those could act as surface level focuses for thunderstorm activity later in the afternoon. But we've got plenty of instability along in this area, so anything that does fire up could go severe pretty quickly. Highs this afternoon, folks. I didn't have this map centered for us. Let's just center it in here. Cool out here in the northwestern quadrant of the country. A trough is worked in here, and that's what's set up in terms of our boundary. We've got a boundary that kind of runs like this and then back in toward the northeast. That's our storm track. We've been talking about this for the last several days. Some of you have made comments and said, hey, Cold rain, we've seen plenty of thunderstorms in our area. Sometimes I don't know where you are. So when you comment to me, let me know what weather you're seeing where you are and let me know where you are. I'd love to hear those comments. I always am interested in what other people are seeing because here in Morganton, North Carolina, right in here, I'm seeing nothing but clear skies and hot temperatures for days on end here, folks. So let me know what you're seeing. But anyway, you're seeing some snow if you're out in Idaho, up in Montana, in the higher elevations out here. You're going to see lots of snow. You are seeing it. In fact, cool temperatures along the west, going to be in the hundreds in the plains, central plains here this afternoon. It's going to feel like 105 to 110. Don't worry, folks, in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, that is coming. It's going to be hot this afternoon, mid-90s everywhere in the east. It's going to be a scorcher of a day. There is your surface map. Low pressure here in South Dakota moving up into Minnesota this way. That's what's going to bring the threat of tornadoes and organization as some of that wind energy associated with that mid-level jet streak gets up in here and helps to organize those thunderstorms. Got this boundary that exists all along from the northeast, the Great Lakes, all the way back into the Four Corners region, will help to focus showers and thunderstorms. And then a little leftover MCS is working through the northeast, and boundaries from there will help to focus showers and thunderstorms in a highly unstable environment up here in the northeast. Scattered showers down here in the south, but nothing that's going to be a washout. And then snow again, as I said, in the higher elevations up here, a couple of feet, not out of the question. Some of you are already seeing that heavy snow probably end by tonight. But here's the instability for tomorrow. We look tomorrow afternoon. We can see kind of the axis of instability back in through Wisconsin, back in toward Wyoming here. Plenty of instability around the rest of the eastern portion of the nation, but just not a lot of energy to focus. Plus, we've got a big ridge, and that caps the atmosphere and keeps us from seeing showers and thunderstorms. But look at that axis that I drew here. Over the course of the evening hours, it sort of fades out as thunderstorms begin to use that instability up. Tomorrow, we've got another slight risk back from the Great Lakes, UP of Michigan, up here in Marquette, down toward Madison, into middle of Iowa toward Ames, and then back in just Lincoln, Nebraska, and back into Kansas here, surrounding that. A marginal risk for slight just isolated severe weather is possible in those areas too, but we're going to see that cold front advance to the east. That'll be the boundary that helps to focus the shower and thunderstorm activity. Not a tremendous amount of shear here, so we're seeing less in the way of a tornado threat, although a couple of spin-ups are definitely possible. Wind and hail are the primary threats, but wind really is the predominant threat with any thunderstorms because we've got a decent amount of instability. And then looking out to Tuesday afternoon, we're looking at Cheyenne and Casper into the panhandle of Nebraska. That's what we're looking at in terms of the main threat. A little bit more along that cold front. It's going to kind of set up like this over top of that ridge, and we'll see some showers and thunderstorms in the Midwest, up into the Great Lakes and in the Northeast as we get into Tuesday, but nothing really, really severe in this area in terms of a widespread, but certainly keep your eye to the sky. If you get a weather alert, take it seriously because there will be a few severe reports. And then general shower and thunderstorm activity possible everywhere else, although I'm not expecting a lot because, again, when we get mid-level and upper-level warmth, we're just not going to see a lot of thunderstorm activity. That's just the way that is. Looking at the entire radar for the nation here, I'll bring this down. I had all this queued up, folks, and my computer crashed again. I don't know why it's doing that. It's like it does it right in the worst times. But there you go. Snow showers back into Idaho, falling right now into Montana and the Bitterroots, and then looking across Montana, just some showers and thunderstorms. Little cluster of showers moving through South Dakota, getting in up here toward northwestern Minnesota. Another cluster moving through Minnesota, and a few showers moving in through the northeast too, down towards Scranton, New York City, places like Atlantic City, things like that. That's what you're seeing. Looking at water vapor today, you can actually see really well where the systems are. Here's the spin back here. You can see that. We're going to see that low pressure move up. Another system is working in toward the northern plains here. Another system, you see these little systems working through the flow. You can kind of see how they're going kind of like in this direction to the southeast. We're looking at all of that. That's where our main areas of energy are. Got a couple little swirl out here in the Gulf, a couple of little other disturbances, but nothing to really bring too much in the way of shower and thunderstorm activity. A lot of dry air over the center of the country. So where you see the yellows, you're not seeing a ton of clouds, but these other blues and greens and things like that, you're seeing some cloud cover out there today as well. Looking on out here at the hazards map, unfortunately, we've got to talk about heat, and we've got a lot of it. We've been harping on this for a long time. I told you the other day that we're going to see heat last week. I told you it's coming. Here it is. Heat advisories, extreme heat warnings, extreme heat watches up. We're going to feel like hundreds plus in many of these areas. We're going to see many more of these advisories come out over the coming days. Winter storm watches, warnings rather, up here in northern Montana, and then winter weather advisories everywhere else. We're going to see several more inches of snowfall before the freezing levels rise, and we start to see some of that snow turn over into rain later tonight. But man, and then frost advisories out here in Nevada, red flag warnings in these bright pink fuchsia type colors or whatever. We're going to see higher winds out here in the plains, so don't burn anything in those areas. And if it feels tropical, it's not your imagination, folks. Look at this. This is from Ben Knoll. I saw this on Twitter. He's a good follow. If you get a chance, follow him. But he's got always putting out interesting weather tidbits and maps. We are going to be among the highest in terms of humidity in the world over the next several days from June the 21st to the 26th. I told you in my video the other day, I said, welcome to the jungle. It's going to feel like a jungle, and it is for much of the eastern United States. Look at this. Rainforests even have, I mean, we're talking about the same type of humidity that you find in a rainforest. So going to feel nasty. So, and the other thing to keep in mind too, folks, heat is a cumulative effect. So day after day after day after day of record or near record heat with humidity, it takes its toll. If you've got heat-related illnesses, if you're prone to that, or if you have had issues with heat in the past, or if you're working outside a lot and you're under stress, you have to take frequent breaks, cool off, drink plenty of fluids, stay hydrated, because this is no joke. I'm telling you, you need to take this seriously. You can die out here in this heat, folks. Look at this. I've been showing you the temperatures every day. I'm showing you the apparent temperature, that heat index over the next 5 days. So Monday afternoon, look at this, 107 up here in New Jersey, all the way hundreds everywhere across the Tennessee Valley into the southeast. It gets worse through the week, 105, plenty of 106s, mid 100s here showing up, all the way up into New England. We're in 100 in terms of heat indexes. So that's why those excessive heat warnings are up, extreme heat warnings are up, hundreds everywhere you see. It finally starts as we get on through the ridge is going to reach its maximum intensity Tuesday, Wednesday, and then back off a bit, but still hundreds up here in southern New England, into the Ohio Valley, back down the Mississippi Valley. Everywhere in the southeast, with the exception of the Appalachian peaks, are going to be feeling like, in the foothills, are going to be feeling like 100 or more. Thursday, same story, particularly in the Piedmont sections of the Carolinas. We're finally seeing a little relief as we see the ridge diminish in intensity and that boundary move a little bit south in the northeast and the Great Lakes and the northern plains, but still hot and muggy, and you see it kind of backing off a bit as we get into Friday. It'll back off a little bit more in the weekend, and maybe we'll start to get in more of a zonal flow type pattern where we have less amplification, and we start to see a little bit more in the way of shower and thunderstorm activity creep back into, because it's going to be mostly dry. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are possible, but still, we're not looking at widespread rain event in the south and the east, just scattered thunderstorms. There's that ridge as we go on out through midweek. Look at that thing, trough in the west. So it'll be cooler out here, cooler along the west, eventually heating up, though that trough is going to abate as well in terms of its intensity. But here's your storm track from the southwest up through the Great Plains. That's where I continue to see severe weather as we go through the week. It will remain in the forecast from day to day as energy ejects out of this trough, traverses the apex of the ridge, and eventually that ridge is going to start to weaken. So as we get on into late week, look at that. The intensity has come down. We're backing it off a little bit. We start to go a little more zonal, and so that'll back off the threat of severe weather. And as that ridge intensity comes down, the mid-levels will cool slightly, and that will enable any disturbances that can work in to be able to fire some showers and thunderstorms in the east. We go on out way in time, and we eventually start to maybe get a little bit of a break in terms of the heat, but it's still going to be warm. We're not seeing any cool down anytime soon. Looking at precipitation from Monday afternoon, there it is firing along that cold front. We're going out into Tuesday afternoon, and we see that same kind of area and boundary light up from the northeast back into the plains, into the southwest. That's where our main area of focus is for showers and thunderstorms. And then we get on into Wednesday, a little energy moving along the apex of that ridge. We'll finally start to see more in the way of scattered showers and thunderstorms across the south as we diminish the ridge intensity a bit, but you can see just things rotating, energy rotating around that ridge. That's where the storm track is. So up through the plains, Great Lakes into the Northeast, that you guys have the best chance of seeing measurable rain and potentially some severe weather bouts as well. But down here in the Southeast, we get on into Thursday night, Friday, we start to see more in the way of potential shower and thunderstorm activity with then general summertime type weather where you get a cluster of showers and thunderstorms. They release an outflow boundary, another cluster pops up, and those boundaries linger and they exist the next day, and they can help to focus all of that. So folks, that is what's going on. That's your week ahead forecast. We're going to take a look at this in more detail with a full episode tomorrow. In the meantime, the sun is turning toward us, folks. Let's take a look here. This is the image of the sun, big transequatorial coronal hole. So we're going to start to expect to see our winds, our solar wind increase. When that happens, we can see things like volcanic activity and earthquakes increase as well. Solar filaments, plenty of those to watch, and a big sunspot cluster coming in. We've got 2 clusters coming in down here. The lead is losing a little bit of its intensity, and the southern area is gaining in terms of its intensity as well. So that's what we're looking at. Magnetism is complex, so we're going to watch those areas for potential sunspots. Not much going on in the earthquake department. I'm on the wrong display. I'm not even sure you can see what I just showed you. But there's the sunspots, by the way, and there's the big sun with the transequatorial coronal hole. Earthquakes, not a lot going on. Had a couple of earthquakes near the coast of Japan. They were kind of offshore, so nobody felt anything but the fish. Better to shake the fish than shake the people. And there's your moon. We're down to 10.9, waning crescent moon, going down to a new moon on the 25th of June. Folks, that is it for today. Comment in the comment section. Let me know where you are, what you're seeing. Let me know if there's anything I can pray over for you. I pray for you every day. Pray for me. We need that, folks. And happy to answer any questions that you have, weather questions for your location or anything about what I've said or any suggestions for the show. It helps me out if you comment. I mean, I want to talk to you, and that's why I do this. So anyway, folks, I hope you have a wonderful day. If you're not subscribed to the channel, share it with friends and family. But we'll be back tomorrow with a full episode. In the meantime, take care. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon.